it's 10:02 a.m. on Friday, September 29th, 2023. Call this meeting of the Wichita County Commissioners Court to order. At this time, let's go to review and discuss regular bills.
Does that include our opinion, or do you?
It's discussion.
It's discussion.
I think that's too high. Well, I am so glad inflation is down, because we wouldn't be able to stand it if it wasn't.
Two, 141.
Margaret,
Sir.
precinct 1, precinct, now, hold on a second. I am speaking. Never mind. I had to look at something.
Okay.
Not including, or FYI, not including any materials or oil, the labor machinery portion of the Decker Road deal was $9,300. So I figure that probably doubles to about a $20,000 a mile endeavor.
I say that again, how much about?
9,330
For just labor.
for just labor and equipment,
Materials.
no materials. That's when we charge FEMA rates. No.
That's actually lower than I thought it'd be.
And it's,
But they had it all prepped.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's cheap.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
That should have been a win-win for them also then.
Mhm.
Didn't cost us anything and
Well, and the great thing is the product was really good. I mean, I drove it a couple times since then, and I just wanted to see how it turned out. It's something you'd be proud of. You know, that's a good thing. It'll last a long time.
Man, I got an email from you and it just says Lee.
I know, it just, the sent button, it just sent it out, it's. I'm sorry. I was trying to pull it back to.
I'll tell you what, guys, every time we have something in the shop, I get to looking back at our budget we just approved, and I'm thinking,
Getting nervous.
yeah, well, it is costing a fortune to keep this stuff repaired now.
what was that repair?
What was your Kubota repair?
It's a transmission deal, had a bearing seize up on the
Oh,
shaft.
mowing tractor?
Yep.
That's why we all put that
And
$5 in
pull the
contingency.
cab, pull it, split it, pull it apart. I mean, it was a big job. And it's all up, had a bearing seize on the shaft, you know, and then it, of course, it took a gear out with it, you know, all the stuff that you expect. Man, that's just brutal.
And our TAC payment or insurance, we've got everything aligned now on one time frame, so that was for everything, is that correct?
I believe
Mm,
so.
It's headed that way.
Well, you still have your, I can't tell.
We're fixing to do auto here.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're split up
in
between
January.
property and auto,
okay. But as far as all
They're
the
headed
property
that
stuff,
direction.
okay.
yes.
Margaret, we got three fairly large bills to Hobart for jail. I'm sure it's repair of kitchen equipment, but do you have any details?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of that is that they're sending people from Dallas and it's normally after hours, but give me 1 second, I'll tell you exactly what happened. They're usually all fairly large nowadays because there's just.
Yeah. Well, one nearly 2,000 and then 832 and 660.
Well, my
And
computer
all on the
is-
same day. So we should only be paying one travel charge. I guess that's the larger of the three.
All right, so the big one. And they're normally, go figure, not done on the same day, so you get to,
They're all 10-2, or they not done on the same day?
right,
They're just
they
invoiced on the
could
same day.
invoice them the same day, but that
Uh-huh.
doesn't, I don't know if they are or aren't, I have to look closer. Let's see. Customer has bowl truck damaged beyond repair, manager asked to order bowl truck, ground travel charge removed, already on site, so this one, they actually removed some of it, but, the actual bowl cost $1,382.40.
Wow.
And then they had, the labor of it on here, there was a gasket, that was $251. And they only ended up charging $45 labor on that one to come from Dallas.
Okay.
That was, it looks like September 15th, so it's a tilting brazing pan.
Okay.
And then, let me look at. The other two are both, it says wear washers, so let's see. Yeah, this is a broken actuator accessory, assembly order, drain machine, or they had to do all that good stuff. They didn't charge as much for labor as you think, it was only $180, but the
Okay.
part was $526.16.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So different pieces of equipment, it's not all the same piece?
correct,
It's-
it looks like it's, well, the third one looks like it's a wear washer too, but I don't know how many of those they have, if I'm being honest with you. Let me look and see if it's, looks like it's the same thing, if they're trying to. They went on different days, so it might have been, the one day they went and looked at it, the next time they went and put it on, because that second one, they said they removed the trip charge. Looks like the first time they went, they knew both of those things were happening, so they went and looked.
Okay, the wear
And
washer.
the wear washer and the tilt skillet, and they
Yeah.
went ahead and charged,
Okay,
for that, and then they removed the trip charge from the next two times when they came in there and fixed them.
good.
Okay.
That was kind of where I was going. Are we, if we've got an issue, are we looking at all those maintenanceable items while they're here?
Yeah, it looked like the first one, they knew both of them, that something was wrong, and then they came back and fixed them when they got the parts.
Okay, good enough. Just, it is what it is.
I know. I mean, I've seen bills for $600 because, the blender won't turn on and
Yeah.
found it unplugged. Found a rag stuck in it, so,
Question,
sure.
on autopsies, why is there such a range? Do they do certain stages of autopsies?
There's one that's 11, and
Yeah.
there's another one that's 1.
One's $1,300 and one's $11,200. I mean, for $11,200, do they completely dissect the body?
I'm sorry, what vendor are you looking at? Is it the
Dallas County.
Dallas County? Okay, that's what I thought. Let me look
I mean, you'd think an autopsy would be pretty standard.
at
It kind of depends, I would
I
think,
don't, yeah,
Bodies
on-
decomposed.
on what the cause of death is and all manner of things.
I don't think it's,
11 times?
I don't, yeah, I don't, weird, no.
let me look and see if I can see.
Mm.
Just go through
See if you
medical
can see
school
any more
for thought,
emails,
I'm
so we
gonna
can
do
details.
perform autopsies.
My granddad used to say they're the best doctor, it's just too late. They know it all, they gotta know a lot.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have to worry about making a determination really fast, they do it all the time to me. So, probably.
Well, there are boxes on these that are checked, so it's a full talk.
Yeah, but they're all-
toxicology.
They're all checked on all of them.
On all of them? Okay.
This one, they feel like charging more.
Corey, can you pull up an invoice?
On precinct 5, Burt Burnett Auto Supply. I don't know exactly what that might be.
Is that the $240 one?
Yes.
Here, do you have that council? No.
Here, I'll get it, just a second, I'll take it by a second. Oh, you get you done, it was pretty close to time. Go in there.
Barry, did you get keys?
Here it is.
Yes, I do.
1356.
Oh, for, yeah, the
1356.
Not the yes.
Oh, where am I?
1356.
Oh, it's been 11.
Oh,
It will get you in the front
They
door.
must be putting.
I
Okay, I think they're.
You know, I want to go back, and they have some, little bit of furniture. up
Yeah,
there
that's
that
what's
picked up
happening. All right,
This next week. So Carla.
That's not one of my work, see,
And
because here you want to get this gas one.
that should get them going, but, we're still, pretty nice gas in there. That's a lot better than the alarm service.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the whole.
Right,
It's actually for,
She's
Autopsies.
okay, that's a running balance,
Well,
maybe daily.
I can do
you move.
Or we put in
Everything.
autopsy level ones, level twos, and external
Stretch it out.
But yeah, that's what it's
I guess
different.
Bruce written page.
That's what I'm saying, there ain't no way.
No, hey Margaret, figured it out.
That's what I was just trying to look at, but mine keeps going away, I
It's-
apologize.
It's,
There
that's
is-
not one, I think we're combining 3 or 4 into one.
I think those were billing amounts, like the 1,300 was one, the 56 was probably
Two,
two, three, and
is that what?
11,000,
Yep.
Yeah.
4 or 5 of them.
They're
Yeah.
planning on not being there, so.
Commissioner, all I can tell you
Looks
is
like that's where we're headed.
the description of it is a case ZEP Big Orange E.
Oh, the description is of what?
Case ZEP Big Orange E. And the cost of it was $299, and there was a 40% discount, I believe, and,
Mick, do you know what that'd be?
or there was a discount that got it down to $240. I don't,
The case is DEP.
At Burke Auto. Not Napa,
Burke Auto.
Burke Auto would be that's a repair shop.
No, I don't think so, I think Burke Auto's just the auto parts place. Maybe they go,
What's the address, Burke Auto? What is this shop?
is it show, you have to pull it for you?
It is 903 Shepherd Road. It is Napa Auto Parts.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's Napa.
Yes, it is not Napa Auto Parts. It's just called Burke Auto Supply.
I realize what y'all were talking about now, Judge Thompson. Glenda separates, runs that ticket so she knows how many each JP does. I'm sorry that
Oh,
you were
okay.
looking at that. That's not part of the, that doesn't come with the bill.
Yeah, no, that's
She
good.
does that in case, and the question has been asked in the past.
How much
How
is
many,
for
and we
which
used to
JP?
split it up amongst which JP did the autopsies.
Okay.
And so it's just habit, and in case someone wants to know, she does that. That's how many each one of the JPs.
Okay, and that's fine now that we know that.
That's why I couldn't figure out kind of what you were looking at, because I didn't realize you were looking at her tape, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Corey, that was, you said that was a case, what?
ZEP. Big Orange. She's en route, Judge, from Dallas.
oh, she's gonna be here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's
her
coming.
plane landed in Dallas, and she said she would drive in. I just tried texting her to see where ETA is. I haven't heard from her yet.
Okay. Sorry, I thought she was joining us via Zoom.
It looks like it's a degrease industrial degreaser, ZEP industrial
Oh,
degreaser.
Then that's, that's that,
That big orange
Distributor.
hand cleaner.
Yeah.
no, that's that distributor cleaner. To clean that distributor.
They have several different degreasers, orange, heavy duty, they have them in, even in the small things, they look like they're expensive.
I think that's what that is that barrel of that degreaser for that distributor.
Did it come in a barrel, Margaret?
It's a small, like 20 gallon or
Yeah, I don't think it, yeah.
15, 20 gallon, something like that. That's what's in the shop out there that they spray on that. If that's what I'm thinking it is, I don't know for sure, that I'm asking.
I don't know how well y'all can see that.
Those look like smaller.
Well, they're selling them in cases, and you have degreaser that is not that for the
Yeah.
asphalt zipper.
Yeah.
So that's not for that, I don't think. I think they may be using it for something else, maybe just generally cleaning up and degreasing stuff around your area, because they sell it in spray cans, pump bottles, like you get laundry, dish soap, but it's by the case.
Maybe we bought some and put in there.
I think you would have bought like a case of something.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
because that other's like $2,000
Yes.
a barrel.
Correct.
Does it show who signed the ticket?
Well, didn't he say it said case?
A case of DEP, or,
Is that-
oh, maybe that
I
means
think
a case,
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
that's-
so that's
okay.
what I was,
not the brand case.
right.
Case is not orange. I think that's what's gonna solve it, no.
Should you see the board? Do what? You see the board?
Well, just look through.
Down this county
Jeff.
treasurer.
No one had actually signed the ticket, but Debbie sent an email when Brenda asked her for approval that said, this to be paid out of precinct 5 for unit 5513.
That must be the new, distributor.
Jack asked Jimmy if he could find it. I did and ordered a case of it. I guess it was ordered for Jack, because that's where,
Okay. I just wonder, is it in that truck or part of that truck or
it was,
5513?
the answer to that was,
'Cause we
to
don't
help
have a
clean the
place.
old distributor and tools.
Okay. Yes, clean up that, I guess.
So, it wasn't for, I guess it was, we should have changed it for precinct 4.
Do what?
No.
What did Pro Insulation do at the jail for $7,000?
The fence,
Oh, the fence. I didn't remember anything we were doing with
yeah, the fence.
insulation. Insulation, yeah, I read it right, okay. Okay, I just
Yeah.
couldn't reconcile that one.
Right, it was the fence.
The fence. Will it block the sun? Will it block the sun?
I
and
hope so
overhead?
for that.
It's an insulation fence?
Yeah,
Is it those little slivers? Go down
that's
there?
the fence that got damaged in the back.
No.
I talked to that Damian Mount yesterday, he said that storm is about to wolf them. Just all the stuff they've had to go back and repair from everywhere, all over the area.
The gun range fence was one of their first fencing jobs.
Did it mess it up?
Well, no, it's fine. but we were putting the razor wire on top, and he'd never strung razor wire before. Went to check on him, and he looked like he'd been in a fight with a saber-toothed tiger.
It's tricky to put up.
Does that stuff even run straight? Well, can you
No,
pull
we
it
had the
straight?
wrong stuff to begin with.
Well, it wasn't, yeah, ours was something from that program, wasn't it? And we
Yeah.
needed to get a
The
bigger.
1033 program. Yeah, but it was-
Surplus?
Yeah, it was more for springing out the battlefield, not hanging on the fence. Poor guy was chewed up.
Any update, Nancy?
No, I was just gonna have more info on your sale.
All right, y'all finished with bills?
Yeah.
Okay. This time, let's recess for a minute until we check on the status of our presenter. So we courts in recess. Okay, we're back from recess. We'll go to item number 2 on the agenda for today, which is a presentation from Erica Aguirre of TCDRS for the lump sum options for retirees. Ms. Aguirre, come on up.
Thank you for having me, and as you said, I'm Erica Aguirre with TCDRS.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, Aguirre's fine, that's how my father says it, actually. Yes, so, no, thank you very much for having me, and most importantly, for bringing me back to continue discussion. What we are most proud of at TCDRS are the 3 pillars that separate us, being savings-based, responsibly funded, but the third, which is why you asked me to come, local control. Every county and district knows your budget best. So all the districts that I have in Abilene, you have nothing to do with them, nor do they have anything to do with the county. They simply live in the same city. And I think that when I'm asked, pardon me, Erica, why are we not in the news? How is TCDRS so strong when I'm reading articles about other pension systems that are, in the heat? And it's really those 3 pillars. And when we have employers that say, we can't afford that, they simply adjust their benefits. And that gives them the complete control over their own budgets and benefits they can offer that they can afford. So when Nancy reached out and said, they want to continue the discussion, I said, absolutely, and I'd rather do it in person to really make sure that your clarity of the options that you have are a reflection of what the benefit levels you want to offer your county in 2024. So what she just printed for you today.
I don't know, it's driving me crazy. It's going. Can you hear it?
The high-pitched, yeah.
A
High-pitched.
drill or something?
It's not doing it. Or just
Yeah, stop.
Microphone.
Maybe it's
No?
the microphone.
No, I think you said to talk about it, so it's,
Okay.
Erica, there's a button on the side that'll lower that.
Oh.
No, it's right here. It's the
Oh,
arrows, the little arrows, they'll lower,
Down.
I think they'll lower it down, yeah.
Oh.
Cool.
I stopped growing like the 8th grade. I really appreciate it. The first document that I asked Nancy to print for you is going to be a single sheet of 4 options, and it's just 1 page. If you wouldn't mind pulling that out first, I'd like to give us a comparison of what we're going to look at today. The first column being the current plan, and I want to specify what that means. If you are not going to make any changes for next year, that's the current plan. That is what we are telling you your costs are for just January 1 of 2024. And I'm going to be specific. If you'll follow with me, the middle of the page under retirement plan funding, the line item I'm referring to is called required rate. To offer such a strong system, we must require you to pay a certain percentage of your payroll to responsibly fund your current employees' future benefits. And for 2024, it's 12.11. So if nothing were to happen today, you would be paying 12.11% of your payroll for next year. You might be wondering, why is there a 12% beneath that? If you are, it's because in the past, Wichita County had a 12% elected rate. You elected to pay us more than what was due. But the elected rate is null and void if your required exceeds it. And your required exceeded it for next year. Does that happen? Absolutely. Your rate will wiggle. We're dealing with human beings. We're dealing with projections and life estimates, and it's going to wiggle. So when the elected rate is exceeded, it becomes silent. So it's just going to sit there. Let's say, for example, next year your rate drops to 11.99 or 11.50. Let's give me a multiple of 5. Your elected rate's going to kick back in unless you tell me to change it, and I will. So that's the current plan should nothing change. I was asked to come in to speak of the possibility of you adding a partial lump sum payment at retirement. For your record and for the court, I'm going to remind you what that means is the day a member retires, and only that one chance, he or she can take a lump sum of their own money, anywhere from $1 to 100% of that. They can't touch the match, but their own portion. Should they need a new roof, medical bills, what have you, that's their business. However, the more they take, the more of an impact on their life benefit. So by protocol and process at our office, if a member calls to consider partial lump sum, we run them a comparative estimate, and we say, without a lump sum, this is what you're going to get for the rest of your life. And with the $10,000 lump sum, this is what your new benefit will be. In our observation, they change their mind. They either lower it Or if they needed it for medical purposes, well, they have to do what they have to do. But as long as they're aware how that impacts their lifetime payout. And so we'll always make sure, be rest assured, that the member knows what that impact is. When I speak to my decision makers, there's no right or wrong, but there's two sides. There's the side that say, Erica, we haven't let them touch it their whole career. Why would we let them touch it now? And the complete opposite side of the ocean, it is their money. They can do whatever they want with it because they earned the right to retire and they got that balloon and cape, so let them.
And Erica, let me ask you on when that occurs, when retirement occurs, does the money set there, my money that I contributed, still make 7%?
Great question. The answer is no. Your money is earning 7% over your career. But the day that you retire and we calculate that final benefit, the interest stops. What happens is we take a snapshot and we say, how much money is in this account to include the interest? But then it stops. How much is the match from Wichita County? We like to, in communication terms, say that now they have a bucket of money. That bucket to be their deposits and interest, which stops that day, their deposits stop and their interest, and then the match. Now they have a bucket. So our actuaries take that bucket and they look at their age and they assume a life expectancy. And they say, okay, well, with that life expectancy and with $150,000, this is what their payout is. But the interest is not earned anymore. And members ask us that all the time. Is my money still earning interest? No, sir. It stops the day you retire. It earns it up until that last paycheck of employment.
And then what does happen to that interest that money earns?
It's paid out.
Funds the fund?
Yes, it's paid out.
Does it fund our fund or
Well-
fund the fund?
So Wichita County has one trust. And in that trust is everybody's money. And imagine, if you will, each piece of the pie has been assigned. John Smith, Jane Smith, like that. Everybody's been assigned their portion. But it's one trust. So the interest it's earning, it's all in that trust, but it's been assigned out accordingly because everybody has their own salary, everybody has their own work, term, and et cetera. When a member is retired and no longer earning interest, they're pulling from that fund. But when a member is working and earning interest, it's building in that trust. The only piece of the pie that always earns interest is Wichita County's portion. Because when we do well in the market, we pass off gains. You might remember 2 years ago, it was a really good year. We closed the year at 22%. Awesome year for me to travel because I had great news. So we get to pass off those gains to all the counties and districts. So as long as you're an entity in existence and we do well in the market, your money in the trust, all of it, all your assets, you see them right here, $135,525,518. But that's good money for you on a good year because you're earning. Now, conversely, on years that we don't do well, like last year was negative 5.8, we couldn't pass any gains off. That's the way that the ball rolls. But on the years we do, hopefully it'll be a positive year again this year, we pass off gains. So the portion of the trust, the portion of the pie that's always going to be available to earn interest is the county's part. The county is the match portion that you pay, the 12.11%. That's money coming from your budget. That's not coming from the employees' pockets. But the money from the employees' pockets only earns 7% until they retire, and it doesn't earn anymore. And then when you're paying them as a retiree, you're paying them from the same trust. But that trust it's always growing in different ways. It grows by deposits over their career. It grows by interest of 7% over their career. It grows by the match portion, the 12.11% you pay us. And then it grows when we do well in the market, we pass off gains. So you've got all kinds of mountains of how it's growing. They're not all the same. But to your point, no, sir, their interest stops at retirement. So they have a finite dollar amount, that's it. The only way a retiree will see a raise is if this court chooses to pass a cost of living adjustment. That's the only way they'll see a raise. And your court never has to pass one. Dallas County never passes them. Tarrant County passes them every year. Everybody's different. So it's up to you, whatever you choose. But today, I just wanted everybody to have that familiarity of what partial lump sum is. It is their choice to take out money, and they don't ever have to. If they say no, they don't use the option. But they only get it at retirement. They can't call us 5 years later and say, can I take out a lump sum of my money? No, I'm sorry. That decision had to be made at retirement. So our job, if this court should pass it, We need to bring the member services team to educate Wichita County so they know how that benefits.
Because when a retiree calls you and y'all are giving them the two options, you're also gonna, and you need to think through the tax implications too of this. Okay.
Because 20% goes to the IRS upon that withdrawal. Yes, sir.
And when the client makes the choice to take the lump sum, are they required to then within a time frame, or can they wait 5 years and draw it?
Great question. Have to take it right then.
Question. You said a lump sum, they take 20% hit on it.
Of that lump.
Do they take that hit if they move it straight to another retirement? Because I don't think I did.
No, because if they move it to another tax-deferred qualified plan,
Right.
no, because they're not withdrawing it.
Right.
They're just rolling it over.
My second question is average, and this will be I think you could probably answer it. An average county employee
Mhm.
over the life of their retirement, what would you guess an average input from that employee only, not county, over a lifetime?
Well, it's gonna be quite varied.
No, I mean, I'm just saying in an average, what's an average, a 30-year career?
35,000
But it depends on
to
if you're-
70,000
Yeah.
is gonna be the range.
There's got to be an average that I can try to think of on. This is the funny thing. It's such a good question, Commissioner, but you have counties that take 7, 6, 5, and 4% of their money. So that's one variance. And then you have different salary ranges, and that's
well,
another. But if we could
and-
average it,
What, did you take lump sum
Yeah.
from the city?
Yep.
What kind of dollar range? I'll tell you, mine was around 140.
Well, 70.
oh,
I'm
you're
gonna tell
asking
you
the average
70
lump sum that's taken out.
No, average lump sum that a employee puts in over their,
Over the
70,000.
career.
I made the salaries 50, I applied 7%, is what an employee puts in, I gave them 20 years.
okay.
That would
Yes.
equal 70.
And I can share something very personal. I've been with TCD 11 years. I have 75,000 in my account, and our deposit rate is 7%. I've been there 11 years. So, I mean, that gives you you're spot on-ish.
And I have a little bit of a different philosophy in retirement. I want to get my retirement back from you as fast as I can.
Okay,
That's my goal.
okay.
Because once I die, my family can't get it.
Only if you leave it to a dual life. Yeah, it's
And-
very
and-
specific.
And so my philosophy is to take out lump sum,
Got
to
it.
take it back at the highest rate possible, as fast as I possibly can, even if I'm putting it in a different account,
Maybe roll it over.
that I can get all that money back. Because if I lose it in the county, then I can't ever get it back, if I die.
Well, and I think that's the great thing about this. is that
Everybody
Everyone
has
has their
that.
choice and
Yeah.
they can,
I was just gonna
yeah,
say
they
that.
can make that.
That worked
Yeah,
well
good
for
choice.
both of us. When we retired early from the city, both of us had 30-plus years, and were able
With
to retire
TMRs?
very young.
Mhm. That's right, you
And
told me that
so-
last time.
For me, retiring young, my monthly benefit wasn't that great, so I took the partial lump and reinvested it.
Oh, you
For my
rolled
young
it
daughter,
over?
yeah,
That's the
so-
lump?
So it's there for a longer period, so.
And you had that option, right?
Yeah.
You had that option.
Because I have a 9-year-old, so.
That's true. I think you make an excellent point, Judge. The benefit of what I've observed for entities that offer this is you leave it up to the member. And if they have your philosophy,
Right.
so be it. If they have the alternate philosophy of, no, thank you, I'm gonna leave it alone and I'm gonna get paid, then that's okay, it's up to them, because they don't have to. But what our requirement is that we will run a parallel estimate, because we need for them to see.
And they do really like to see that, because a lot of people I work with, they like seeing that, $2,500 or $3,000 a month compared to that $2,000 a month.
Yes, and it's their information. We
Yeah.
owe them that clarity. So when they call me, I'd like a lump sum, may we run you an estimate, may we have your time, just show them. So, this might be something you might have thought about, but I've asked the member team, what's the average lump sum people take out? 10,000. That's the average lump people take. Whether it be for medical fund or, I don't know, it's
That's not a lot.
10,000, it's not a lot.
Hmm.
Mm-mm. That's an average. I mean, you have some people that say, let me reinvest it elsewhere. They have that flexibility, but it's their lower amounts. Mhm. But that's what partial lump sum is, and that's why, for what Nancy has provided you today, it actually is indicated in bold, and you'll see it across the page under partial lump sum payment at retirement. All three options I'm going to review with you today have included the partial lump as an option for January of next year. The only one that does not is the first one, because we didn't know you were thinking about it, so if no plans are made or changed, then it says no. That's the only difference. But you're going to notice another factor for us to discuss in bold. If you will, you'll notice the elected rate. I touched on that a little bit earlier about your elected rate going silent. Nancy went ahead and ran 3 more options of an elected rate at 15%, 14%, and 13%.
And is that just to buy down liability quicker?
Absolutely. It's just to say, you know what, in this budget year, we actually have it. We're gonna pay down liabilities quicker, I mean, your exact word, that's how we communicate it. And we're gonna build our assets a little faster. And we're gonna do it on this year because we added a benefit. When you add partial lump sum, it's an inexpensive benefit. It's not as expensive as a COLA. It's not as expensive as a match increase, but it's still a benefit. So your rate went up a little bit. So adding that elected rate certainly pays that quickly, but it just builds the fund a little faster. But I do want to be very clear, by paying the 12.11, you're responsibly funding this plan. Because our job and our internal and external actuaries, they have to tell you what cost will responsibly fund the plan, and it's 12.11. But years ago, the legislature let us tweak our system to allow employers to pay more, to say, if we have it, why can't we pay down liabilities? And they gave us 2 ways: elected rate, additional contribution made by the employer. If you wanted to put 50,000 to the plan, 100,000, 10,000, Collin County puts 1.4 million, whatever you want to put to the plan, you can make a payment and it goes directly to your liabilities in that year. So you'll notice that the very next calendar year, your rate dropped. Well, because you paid down some liabilities faster. Everybody's different, but you have that right. Today, I don't have additional contribution numbers. What I'm going to refer to is elected rate. So one of the 2 strategies today that we'll discuss is elected rate. And the reason I asked Nancy to provide these, and thank you for doing that, is because page 3 is what I need your eyes on. If
And
you
you're
can-
on LS 13?
LS 13, absolutely. LS 13 on page 3. I want to show you something. And actually, if you wouldn't mind putting that on all 3 of them on page 3, it's going to help me explain it even better. All LS 14, LS 15. If you just move into page 3, I want to show you, speaking of, Commissioner, to pay down liabilities, how much faster a 15 would pay off than a 13. So you'll notice that when you do the 13, it makes an impact-ish, really. It kind of holds it. It holds your rate in the 13. It doesn't really do much, but it's holding it. It's not going to go too high. And, you know, it's pretty stable. Creates stability. If you go to 14, look at how it drops to the 12s in plan year 2031, and could be a lot sooner. If we do well in the market and we're passing off gains, these numbers are a lot less. This projection is just assuming that we hit our 7.5. And like I said, 2 years ago, we hit 3 times that, 22. So anyway, this is just a projection of hitting our basis. You'll notice it goes down to the 12s and again stabilizes there for some time. But watch what happens in the 15. You all see the 9s a lot sooner. You stay in the 12s, you go down to the 11s, and before you realize it, in 10 years you're in the 9s. So again, we do well in the market and pass off gains.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, go ahead.
Make sure everyone's
Sure.
got the right.
And Erica,
Absolutely.
so if my option on the lump sum is to take from the dollar to all of it that I contributed, what's the difference in 3 plans? A 14, a 15, or 13, 14, and 15, what's the difference? I can do that in all of them, right?
Absolutely. We're talking about 2 separate things. A member taking out their money is completely separate from this county funding the cost of your plan. That's 2 separate conversations. So a 13, 14, or 15 is simply a percent of payroll that the county is choosing to fund greater than what's due. Versus your question is, if a member takes out from $1 to all of their money, well, then they just do. That has nothing to do with the funding.
That's just one way, I mean, that's the only way that can really go down, right? That you don't have a plan that they can take up to 20,000, a plan that they can take up to 40,000, or a plan that they can take up to all of their elected, or their monies. It's just one plan. It's just how we're funding that plan. That's what you're calling a 13, 14, and 15, correct?
Yes, and when I say your plan, I'm talking about all of Wichita County. You're funding your
Correct.
trust.
But the required rate is the same.
Yes, because for next year, the only plan change you're telling me you want is a partial lump sum payment. And by adding partial lump sum payment, that's the only thing. So your required rate stays the same. That's the only plan change. The difference is, how much extra do you want to pay? Do you want to pay 13 over the 12 point, what is it, 12.53? Do you want to pay 14 over the 12 point? It's just how much more to your credit card do you want to pay that month? You went shopping a lot this month, that's all.
But why would a county want to do that? Why? What's the reason behind wanting to pay more?
Okay, so without any benefit changes, and that's a partial lump sum, that's a COLA, that's a match increase, your rate will wiggle. It's over time it's gonna go down. But when we do poorly in the market and we can't pass off gains, you know, your rate might go up a little bit. Or we have to adjust our assumptions, or things happen, you know, 2008, the market crash, rates went, that's gonna happen. And then on top of it, you're dealing with people. You have people asking for COLAs. You have people asking for partial lump sum. You're gonna have people call and say, are we ever gonna get a match increase? You have people, right? So you might have benefit increases like today, the partial lump sum. That's gonna make your rate go up. So those are ways your rate's gonna go up. The reason an elected rate works and it's a good idea is because to offset only an upward movement, pay down liabilities and help that so that when you do have a plan change like a partial lump sum, or maybe we have a bad year or we don't have gains, help us help you. So that way your rate stays kind of stable. And that's why on page 3, even with a partial lump sum and you paying a little extra, you see it eventually start going down. And we will have adverse years. I don't have a crystal ball, I can't tell you which ones, but I promise you we're not always gonna do well in the market. So when our executive director speaks about funding this plan, she says it's a shared responsibility. The member has to pay 7% of their money, they don't get a holiday. The county has to pay the required rate or the elected rate, and we have to do well in the market and we have to do our part and manage that portfolio. So help us help you, we'll help you, you help us. When you have extra money, help pay down those liabilities. And it can stay at your required rate, but it's just gonna keep trekking up a little longer. And then for future courts, you're also doing them a favor.
But when we're looking at these numbers here on page 3,
Yes,
these are the entire plan or only the lump sum pay out of the plan?
entire plan.
Okay.
This is the entire plan. And you know, for example, on option 1 called the current plan, for the whole plan for January of 2024, you owe us 12.11. That's the whole plan. So these on page 3 change that to like 12.46, 12.15, but for the whole plan. That's assuming you're just gonna pass a partial lump sum payment for January 2024. And I will say this though, if you look at page 3 and you're looking at these numbers, it's assuming that you're keeping that elected rate in place. You're not just gonna pay it 1 year.
Yeah.
So you're trying to hold that, I'm gonna use 15 as an example. You're holding that 15 for a while. If you just pay it for 1 year, well, those numbers are surely gonna change, sorry. But it's to fund the whole plan, Commissioner, absolutely. Mhm.
It makes it easier to budget for because we know what to expect year after year.
And that's the second reason why people do it. When I have Tarrant County likes to I'm sorry, not Tarrant County, Parker County likes to know their budget 2 years in advance, so they set an elected rate they control. They don't have to wait for our numbers. And the longer you hold the elected rate, your required continues to go down. So years ago, I was called into a meeting and Tarrant County said, we want to pass a COLA, but how do we afford it? And our actuary said, set an elected rate and hold it. So they set an elected rate and their rate went down. And they held it, went down, went down. They only owe us 12.5, they pay us 19.5. That's kind of huge, but you know what? They pass a COLA every year and it pays for itself. And they can budget that. And they can adjust the 19.5 whenever they feel like it. So they got control of their budget ahead of time while passing a COLA. For a very large county, they can be expensive, but that's their strategy. But to your point, you can control.
And how do we pay our liability? Do you send us an invoice?
No, actually, it's online, it's through a payroll. Do you know who submits the payroll? It's a payroll report and it comes from your office every month.
Corey, that's something, I know that we've been budgeting over the required amount,
15.
but we don't pay that, right? We only pay what the elected rate is, or
We're paying the
the
elected rate.
required. We're paying the elected rate or the
No, I'm sorry,
required
the
rate?
required rate, because our elected rate's lower, and we only budgeted 14% on it.
Was 14, not 15.
So we-
Wasn't the elected higher than the required last year in 23?
No, our elected rate, I don't believe has changed in quite a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
We've
a few
been
years
paying the
ago.
required rate for quite
Okay.
a long time.
But you're going in and doing a calculation on a portal and that's how you pay?
Yes.
Okay.
It's you submit a payroll report.
it does make it easier to budget because it levels out that curve.
Yeah.
But you're actually prepaying with a more valuable dollar than you would be on down the line, so that's a consideration also.
You're buying down reliability.
Yeah,
So you said, Commissioner, you're prepaying with a more valuable dollar.
well, the value of the dollar has continued
Because
to
the-
decrease,
because
so
inflation is-
if you're paying, if you've got the option to pay 12% today or pay 13% today, the extra percentage point that you will pay tomorrow is a dollar that's got less value than the one you're paying today, probably. That's been the trend.
Unless it's a year with a good investment return, in which case
That is true. That varies also.
That's an
You'd have
interesting
to
point.
change your.
And I'm not saying it's what you need, it's just another
Yeah,
consideration.
it's a consideration.
Yes, that's a very
Consideration.
interesting point.
And something you have to be aware of.
Mhm. I do want to say to your point that you can adjust the elected rate at any time. So if 15 after a few years is not working for you, or 14 is not working for you, as long as it's any percentage above what's required, you're welcome to adjust it. But by state statute, you must pay what's required or more.
Since I've been on this court, we've had a few requests to look at the COLA deal. Not a lot, but a few. It's been mentioned a few times when we get into the budget hearings and all, and we've not ever really addressed that. And I think that's due to the fact that we run on a pretty tight budget, and our efforts have been more toward current payroll than retirement payroll. So that's, I don't know that we would ever change that or, need to, but it has been discussed a few times.
Erica, so, and if I'm reading this right, just talking about the partial lump sum option,
Mhm.
it's going to increase our liability by about $500,000 the first year. And then y'all will reevaluate it every year from that point forward.
Absolutely, because we then, we value your plan on actual experience. You might not have a lot of members who even take advantage of
Right.
it. So every year we value, they didn't take advantage. So you're paying it off faster and differently each year. But because it's the first year, they value it accordingly because we don't know how many people are
Because
going
we
to
could
take
have
it.
a slew of retirements in one year and everyone decide to take it, in which case it messes up the.
So we have to revalue your plan and say, okay, Wichita County, so, you had so many people use it, we're gonna revalue. Or people aren't taking the money, and so partial lump sum is one of those benefits that we don't have such predictability. An increase of match, well, that's predictable, because we know
Sure.
exactly. A COLA, we can run you those numbers, but partial lump's a little different.
Because it's up to the retiree and
Yes, sir.
their agency.
But we will value.
It's really about the time value of money. is
Yes,
what
it's about
really
the- yes.
It's making a big withdrawal from your account rather than a small one, so.
And to his point, he, the personality of saying, I understand investments and I'm gonna have this work for me otherwise, that, exactly, time value of money, how are you using the money in that time and who's gonna take advantage of it? So, but
It's
we
the
value.
difference between taking the cash value of that big lotto win or.
Or the lifetime payout, yeah, that's right.
It's the same thing, yeah.
And so, Erica, on the bottom down here where it says actuarial accrued
Yes.
liability, and then the unfunded portion. So, in dollar value in our plan today, what is that asset value?
That, it's gonna be this, but the reason we use the word actuarial and not just assets is because we're valuing this as an ongoing entity. We don't assume that next year Wichita County ceases to exist. So this isn't a finite number. This is an ongoing value of your assets to assume the prediction we have of the new hires, of the people who are gonna stay. Because we've studied your plan, we know what your pattern is. We know how many you hire, we know how long they stay, we know what your average salary is. To assume this continues, Commissioner, your actuarial value is gonna be as such. If you were to say, which I've never been asked by a county because they're permanent entities, but if you're a district who calls me and says, we're considering terminating, give me a study, then we can give you a finite number of exactly what that is. But currently, we have to tell you what is in your plan. We have to disclose that. If you visit our website and click on plan documents, or Nancy can provide it for you, you want to look at the summary valuation. That's our value of your plan, and we'll tell you what you have in a cash balance, what your balance is. That's not actuarial. That's actually the assets to liabilities. But when we talk about plan benefits, we have to speak in actuarial numbers. But if you're curious, well, how much do we, it's gonna be in the plan summary, and that is your information to have and review. And it's very specific because we have to provide it for your audit, for your financial auditors. We also have the GASB report, and that is another financial accounting that will show you what Wichita County has and then to liabilities. And again, because we're dealing with human beings, those liabilities are gonna wiggle. But to his point, if you want to have control over what that budget is, you set an elected rate that you're in charge of and let the wiggle happen beneath it. And it has exceeded the elected rate recently, but that's because the elected rate wasn't really, really high. You're going to need some basis point difference for it to really hold. I was telling, when Nancy and I were on the phone, I said, if you just do 13 to 12.53, don't be surprised if the 12.5, if it doesn't hold. You're going to need a little bit of wiggle room if you really want it to hold.
Well, in fact, you're not predicting it to hold.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
we're not predicting it to hold, exactly. And again, this is just assuming we hit our 7.5. I think last time I checked, we were already at 7% for the year. That's great. We hope we get much better because the year is always moving. But, you know, like I said, when we do well and we have 22 or 18 or 12 or 17, that's more than the 7.5. We're passing off those gains. These numbers then decrease. But assuming we hit the 7.5, you're right. We are predicting that it won't hold. Absolutely.
Do we have any history of how many people have requested this? I mean, is this something that, you know, happens a lot, or?
They don't know to request it, because it's not an offer.
It's not.
It's
Many
not an
people
offer.
don't know about it.
But I would assume somebody would say, is there a possibility that we could do that? I'm just
Do y'all
curious.
see that, Tanya? What's your experience, you and Sonia, since you've been here?
Nobody's requested it. I can tell you,
How many people don't have any clue what the plan even
oh,
does?
they don't until they come
No,
in.
nobody
Yeah.
does. Okay, so they could.
Yeah,
Randy,
so
how do
It'd
you
be
ask that
interesting to
question?
get City of Wichita Falls numbers from.
Yeah, I'm just
Yes.
curious if this is something that's,
Most people don't even start looking at their retirement plans till they're 5 years or so from retirement. Then
Right.
they start doing their little analysis, and I'm sure you have it on this. We can go in online and
Yes,
put a
estimates.
date in and
Absolutely.
find
And
out
it's
what
about
your-
5 years, because now it's real. You
Yeah.
know, now it means
When
something.
you get
so-
close enough where it's real, or you get really fed up with your job, either one. I mean, poor
That is
they-
so true.
From a budget aspect, Corey and Margaret, if we have a rate of 12.11, but we have budgeted for 14, that's only good for that year. We have no savings account for the balance that just nearly 2% collected, and it's not set over here to the side to be added to again the following year. It just
It's
fades into the general
It's
fund,
just
right?
unspent money that doesn't come out of the general fund.
I mean, I guess we're taxing for it.
Yeah, we
but-
are, and
But we're not it's not marked.
it's
not
about,
earmarked
I
for-
guess, $500,000 roughly. I mean, I'm using $1 million worth of payroll. Payroll, is that a little bit low for payroll, isn't it? But when I say $1.5 million, that catches too many other things, doesn't it? $1.5 million is what you actually transfer to payroll, but that's covering insurance and all these different things as well. Do you see that number in your mind at all?
You're asking for just the amount that we transfer for the retirement on.
An employee times their monthly or their hourly rate equals the payroll portion.
Mhm. I'm wanting to say it's in the 3 million a year, just over. I'll look it up, to be honest.
No, total payroll dollars that are actually payroll dollars. Net salary dollars.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking on the net salary portion of that.
So if I ask you what is the payroll for Wichita County annually, what would you tell me?
A lot. It's been a while since I've directly dealt with payroll on each week or pay period, whatever. So I haven't seen the total actual numbers in quite a little bit of time. But I would say it's getting up in the mid-20s or better.
For some reason, I have 25.2 in my head, but that could, with a lot of numbers.
I'm
on it,
just
could be
using
wrong one, but-
Victor's breakout sheet, is that's what I'm kind of gauging myself off of. And
So this option, if what I'm looking at here, I guess has the ability to affect us. We think it will affect us by what, is it 1%, somewhere in that neighborhood? I mean, is that what the numbers are
No,
showing?
it's
no.
set by 0.4%.
0.4.
yeah, you
But
could,
it could go up from that if we have a lot of participation. So that's kind of the unknown.
you could pay right now, Barry. We are paying 12%,
Right.
but we have the option to pay up to 15%.
But our required's
Right.
gonna go up to
But the required-
12.5.
12.5.
12-1, 12-1.
Without it, without
Yeah,
it.
without anything.
Commissioner, our total payroll for 22 was just over 27 million.
Okay.
So it's probably gonna be slightly higher than that
Okay,
for 23.
so that's where I'm coming up with $500,000 when we're charging 14% instead of 12-11.
Because it's 14% of his payroll.
Yeah.
So
Is that information from the city of Wichita Falls, would that be public information? Could you request that?
I would think they
Yes.
could speak in general numbers like
I mean, to me, I would just be curious to see what
You'd
the,
think you could get a hold of HR over there and kind of.
Yeah.
just a rough idea, we're not really wanting to. I mean, I guess, are we talking about something
It takes
that's,
about 2 weeks for them to respond, and you have to put in a request online, and then you get the email that says, we will get back to you.
We do.
And then it's in code, because I have tried to do salary comparisons with them before, and
yeah,
because they have their employee, step and grade increases, and it's like, I don't know if that's secretary or that's an attorney, I don't know. Because, and they don't give you anything that tells you what that position number is.
I can tell you from the police department,
I have a hard time.
almost every officer retiring took lump sum
Mm.
of
that's
some sort.
interesting.
Well, we have some manipulation.
Because-
A couple of people retire, well,
And
they quit, take all their money out, and then come back in a couple of months, go back to work.
And something you see though over there is you had some financial agencies that would come and had meetings for the
Oh, wow.
upcoming retirees
Mm.
citywide to solicit their business to financial groups to get that, to help manage their
Let
retirement.
us manage your deal instead, yeah, I see.
And they would, you know, come over, have lunch for everybody and talk about how the best way, and they would run your financials to see what's better for you and your lifestyle, and
And they
it
help
was
you
a
to death.
benefit.
But philosophically, it's the employee's money.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like to get them to have the choice of what to do with it, up at the front end.
It
It
is
could
that,
be a
but
valuable
it's
tool to
also
employ.
a little bit of cost to you
It is.
to allow them their own money.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is, depending on what they actually
In the
end up
first
doing.
year, for sure.
Yeah.
But it
Remember-
does,
Because even if no one elected that, we'd still pay the 12.53 to make our liability whole, even if no one took advantage of it.
First
Next
year.
year.
First
Yeah.
year. then
But if no one's
actuarial will
using it,
change.
our actuaries keep valuing your plan and your rates are going down because
Yeah.
no one's using it. So it all depends. And I do want to say that, remember though, you're right, there is a cost to you, but if a member takes out money of their own and they take advantage of partial lump sum payment, they're then shrinking that benefit that this county is paying them for life. And you know, when we run these numbers, Commissioner, you don't have partial lump, we're assuming they're getting that whole amount, and they're not anymore. They took a lump sum. So now the county is paying them a little less. Now, I will say that their money's matched first though. They get it all matched first. So you're paying the full career match, yes, but they took it out. So, you know, the monthly payment is a little less. And in your example, ma'am, when a person quits, we see that all the time, they withdraw their money.
Yeah.
The county keeps that match.
Right.
That is called a positive plan experience for the county, not so bueno for the member because they just lost all that match, but they do it all the time anyway. You know, but that's a positive
So
plan
that changes
experience.
our actuarials each year.
And just yesterday, a judge called me and said, Erica, why did our rate go down? And I said, Judge, you had a lot of people terminate, didn't you? And he said, and they took their money. I said, right there, sir.
Okay.
The county kept that difference because this match belongs to the county. This 1.5 million you speak of, that's your money. This is your money. Until they retire, then they get a pension. It's not their money yet.
And-
So if they forfeit it, who keeps it? The county.
And that's exactly why I want my money out faster.
Ah.
Because I don't want to get the county.
So this,
I mean, you give me 2 for 1, I want it out there as fast as I can.
Gotcha.
This is strictly dealing with people that qualify to retire,
They
not
must
somebody that's
retire.
leaving after 5 years.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You cannot take a partial lump sum if you're
Right.
leaving, unless we call you a retiree and you log in and it says, congratulations, you're eligible to retire, you don't get to choose this.
You gotta
Yeah,
meet.
you gotta meet all the
requirements.
Absolutely. You have to meet the requirements.
And y'all, I think I asked you this last time, y'all figured the unfunded or the overfunded on a 25-year window?
20.
20.
It's a closed 20-year amortization cycle, yes, George.
So the liability hits us in the first year.
And that's only to anticipate if everybody withdrew.
Yeah.
And then after that, it stabilized.
Everybody that we assume will retire.
Yeah.
So we have assumptions of how many are actually, well, first they have to be eligible.
Right.
And then our actuaries kind of study Wichita. They have an idea of how many retire year to year, and they're assuming they're all gonna take it. And they're assuming an average amount. And then what happens is real life. Let's see, do they even really retire? Do they even touch it? So we're always gonna revalue that.
And right
Just
now,
don't
you're
let
having
anybody
less
retire
retire
till-
because inflation's so high.
They're staying-
Nobody,
yes.
nobody's wanting to retire because they're like scared.
Or they're staying for insurance or
Yeah.
whatever other reason.
So it'll go back pretty quick, especially with our inflation rate like it is.
And so our pool, here's our pool, Erica, and inside that pool, interest rates in the world that the plan, our pool of money is able to do is 14%. We guarantee the customer or the user 7%. What happens to the other 7% within our pool that the client's money earned?
So you're not guaranteed 14, you're guaranteed an annual interest earnings of whatever we do in the market that year. So last year, Commissioner, this county made nothing on your interest. You had no interest to be made because we had a negative year. There was nothing, there were no gains to pass off. 2022, first, TCDRS takes a little bit for our reserves because we use our reserves to help keep rates stable, like for 2008 and when COVID
Is that a
hit.
percentage?
We take it, whatever our board of trustees elects, it's usually a dollar amount. They usually take a certain dollar amount that they feel they need to build our reserves for that given year. And then they divide the rest of those earnings equally among all the employers. Off the top of my head, I don't know what your interest rate was 2 years ago. I'll have to look that up and email you. But it's not a guaranteed 14, it's however we do in the market. So what the 14, are you referring to the percent of payroll that you're paying us? That's the cost.
What I'm saying is if we have $100 million in our Wichita County
Your
plan,
trust,
and the market is such that it made 14%. We're only paying our clients 7%, so there's a free will of 7%. Does it buy down our liability?
Absolutely.
Does TCDRS set it aside? What
No, it's your
happens?
money, so only your trust keeps your benefits and your assets and nobody else touches it, so absolutely. So the reason why your plan rate might drop, and some years pretty considerably, is because of exactly what you just said.
Okay.
If we do well, and you have 135 million and we have a great year, oh, that's a happy year, because you made a lot of money, now your rate went down 2 basis points, and you're like, Erica, we had a great year. Yeah, you did, and we passed off those gains, so your assets served you well.
Gotcha.
But in a year that we don't have gains, your rate's probably gonna stay like this, or it might even go like this a little bit.
Right.
So, but to your point, it stays here, and only your trust builds its own assets, benefits from its own gain, benefits from its own losses, nothing else is touched. The only time we pool assets, and I have to be clear about this, is to have a portfolio which is 42 billion right now. We pool assets because we have to invest our money to make money, but everybody has their own trust, and within that trust, to your point, you have 7% that you're paying, you have this, and we have a pie that we manage. And then to come up with a partial lump sum payment valuation, we're gonna see how many people are really using it, and how much are you really gonna pay us over time. But for the first year, we have to charge you something,
Sure.
and that's what your fee is, your charge. Not a fee, your
Yeah, it's not a
cost.
fee, it's
Cost.
a
Yeah,
higher rate.
it's not a fee, it's a cost. But to your point, they're assuming, we're looking at Wichita, you have so many eligible, we're making a prediction, an estimation of who's gonna retire, and of those, we think they're gonna take advantage of it, we'll see. But they may not, like you said. Mhm.
Just like the insurance game, it's an investment
It's
strategy.
an investment strategy.
Yeah, if we pay it at an elected rate and then over time with the investment, we should, our actuarial should go
Go
down
down. So-
each year, because it's
So
bigger
higher
each
elected
year.
rate and good investment returns,
Yeah.
excellent combination. That
Yeah.
formula leads to lower rate for Wichita County,
Correct.
yes.
Barry, to put this, what I was explaining, I took my lump sum, and out of that lump sum, I bought life insurance for $1 million. That no matter who in my family gets it, but my life, if I left it to my wife, my spouse, it was gonna take me a $600 decrease a month for my life to both of our lives.
You can-
My
you can
life
buy that
insurance
life
was
insurance.
$400 a month, and no matter if me and her both die, or I die, somebody's getting $1 million. And the county, I'm using their money to pay for it at a less rate. So it was a win-win for me. I'm gonna get my money either way, no matter what. The way I set it up, I'm getting my money from the city.
Well, we've all heard of people that have retired and before they draw their first retirement check, something happens to them.
Oh,
I mean,
those
that,
are
correct.
horrible
I mean,
stories.
that happens in real life.
And
And
the only way you could do that is,
you knocked me off, I thought there for a minute you said both my wives, but that. I had to refocus there for a second.
so,
No,
That's
no,
a
I-
very
yeah, I
good
understand what you're saying because you just shored up the fact that your family's gonna receive that money, which
Yeah.
you didn't have that as.
and you don't have it with retirement, because
You really don't.
if you and your wife die in a car wreck, then all that money you had in there's
That's
wasted.
right.
Yeah.
I say it's wasted, it's just given, donated to the county.
Yeah, it just absorbs.
Well, no, I mean, to some degree, or it's just buying down
Mine
the
doesn't.
liability.
But
In the long run.
to that effect though, some people retire to retire. I mean, y'all retired but took other jobs. And if you have to depend on, it's hard to take that third of your asset, put it over here and think, I'm not gonna touch it at
But
all,
most
I need to
people,
live off of it.
but most people would retire and leave a spousal, option on there too. That if
Which
something
costs
happened to
a
me,
fee, which
but
costs a
that
fee.
cost at the
Yeah.
city when I was gonna leave was gonna cost me $600 a month. Well, I was able to get this insurance for less than $600 a month that covers either way. So actually, it's a,
Yeah, I did the same thing. I bought life insurance and I invested the rest in, in another retirement plan that I'll start drawing.
so that's,
from when
but
I'm
being able
retirement
to
age.
have that option is
Yeah.
huge.
And that retiree who's retiring to retire, they can look at it and they don't have to take it.
Your point you said earlier, they
Yeah.
can choose and they can do that because we also have to remember they have to do their budget of what they can afford
Yeah.
to live off of, right? And they have that option.
Yeah.
You're very right. I've always seen it, my entities, when I observe the decision, they're very happy that they gave it because Bear County has partial lump sum, has had it for years. And you can't, I don't know if I said this last time, it's non-rescindable. You can't
Yeah.
take it off. Once you say it, it's forever. And, you know, they're happy they offer it. So I think that, to your point, it gives people decision-making power of their own account. They don't have to take it, but it's there if they want to.
And I think most probably don't,
You know, it's.
or not a lot.
Yeah,
Well,
and
in
if they
both-
do, it's a little amount.
And both you guys are in a position, you could still buy life insurance.
Yeah.
And that's the whole
Yeah,
deal.
that makes
It kind of depends on the age of your retirement.
Yes.
Because
That
if
makes
you
it
can
different.
retire young enough, it makes a difference.
You're
That makes
right,
a difference.
age and if they can continue to work, yeah, well, that's all those factors. But
Yes.
again, it's in their hands of what they can do.
Boy, it would scare me to death to retire into an inflated economy. I mean, actually retire. That'd be frightening.
Which was his point, that they're prolonging retirement, so we'll see what your numbers look like
Yeah.
next year, and you know, how many you're using it, that's so true.
That would be a
The
frightening
only
deal.
interesting comment I've heard from my entity, and this is just to share, anything I can think of with you as you make your decision. I heard a commissioner say, I thought, hadn't thought of that before. He sat back in his chair and he said, well, I think it's a person's decision of their own money. I'm a man of that belief, but I feel that if we give them this option, he said, let the court know, be prepared for COLAs. Because when you shrink their benefit and they're making less a month, once that money runs out or they can't use it or they have it tied up in life insurance, they're gonna want more money a month. And so they're gonna be knocking on our doors for more COLAs. And so I thought, I hadn't thought of it that way. And he said, I'm okay with that. But don't be surprised when your phone rings, I need a COLA now, because instead of getting
It's-
$2,000 a month, now they're only getting $1,000 a month.
That's an absolutely fair prediction. of
And that's
will
what
come
he
back.
said.
And the city's never had a
And
COLA.
just like in
For
the,
anybody.
and just like in the lottery example, there are some people that can manage money and some people that can't.
Oh, my
But
goodness.
they're-
Yeah,
but
everybody's
In
different.
essence, their value didn't change.
No.
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 So,
And to some degree, you have to tell people, you sleep in the bed that you make.
You make
I
a
mean,
decision, exactly. Yeah, because you're not obligated to pass a COLA, and they shouldn't expect one, but he just said, my phone might ring, and I thought,
Yeah.
interesting,
No,
just
it's-
for consideration. But it does give people the option, to your point, let them do with their money what they need to do with it, what's best for their own home budget, and make it work the way they can.
Well, there's not a lot of decisions that we get to make that tie the courts in the future forever. Let's enjoy that.
As a matter of fact, hardly any.
Yeah.
Hardly any. That's always been the deal. I just, once again, I just don't have any feel for how many people would really take advantage of it. I agree with the judge. I'm all about somebody taking care of their own business and not being told what they're gonna do every day, so I don't know, guys.
So we really have two decisions to make. What, by the end of the year, by the end of October,
December 15th.
December 15th?
Yes.
And
Oh, that's a
it'll,
long way off.
and so it'll be to make a decision on a lump sum if we're gonna do it or not this year. And then if we wanna choose to change the
Elected rate, and then just what percentage, so that I can run you a final document for this court to approve and for your signature, Judge.
Okay. Erica, I always enjoy when you
Yeah,
come to
I
your
do too.
presentations.
I was gonna tell you, Erica, when I start my own pension plan, I'm hiring you.
Okay. I will, yes. Well, thank you for having me. I'm headed to Electra because we have a housing authority, and I'm gonna meet the new GM, and I just love that little place, so I'm gonna head north to Electra and then back home. So thank you.
There's your retirement gig right there.
Exactly.
That's-
Don't forget my name, okay? Commissioner Watts is gonna hire me.
And,
But thank you for
Erica, Carlito's in Electra, a great place to eat lunch.
Oh, thank you. That's why I like, because you know, you have your staples of chains, but I said, no. When I got this job, I made a commitment to myself. Enjoy the state of Texas. And so I looked for the locals,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I went to a Dairy Queen, and I met a woman who'd been there for 42 years.
Wow.
Wow.
We're gonna do a story on her. I said, really? And she was served, I even got emotional. She served the soft cone, and she's like, I hope you enjoy it. Makes me emotional now. 42 years, I was awesome. It's the best officer I've ever had.
Did you ask her about Dairy Queen's retirement?
You know what, I did. And she said, they have 401k, and she says, I haven't looked at it much. I said, you haven't? How long do you want to work? She says, until I can't serve ice cream anymore. But it's a 401k, and she asked me what I did, and I said, I work for a pension. She said, if only we had one. And we chatted a little bit about that.
Wow.
But 42 years, and these little nuggets, my daughter's, mama, because I come home, okay, for Christmas, we have to go to Waxahachie. They have this thing. And for this, I have all these Granbury, Texas, and you know, we have a beautiful state. I wish everybody the opportunity to see it. And it's so different,
Yeah.
right? It's so different.
My wife and I love to watch diners, drives,
Oh,
and
yes.
dives on the
Oh, I've
food
not
deal.
seen that.
And we were talking the other day, I said, someday we're gonna take a tour and go visit
Do it.
some of those that are here in Texas. I think that'd be
Do it.
fascinating, just take a long weekend or something and go.
Yes.
Mark, what was
Experience
the one you posted the other day that had the diner look to it that said a great hamburger?
Scott's Drive-In.
Scott's Drive-In, okay.
In
I could-
here?
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was
A Big Scotty burger used to be the bomb, but I hadn't had one.
They're
They're
still great.
okay.
Still
They're still
good,
good.
yeah.
They're
Oh,
not.
I'm hungry now.
Wow.
Big
Oh.
Scotty burger.
Those little gems you find, and it's great to come out. And it's nice to leave the traffic of Austin, so I get to travel. And, you know, Amy says hello, and she loves Wichita. And we were fortunate to visit, you know, Wichita many times over the 11 years. So now we know our way around, and it's, you know, when you find familiarity, you feel fortunate. You know, it's a great place, and I love the drive. It's so pretty. It's very
There are
pretty. and
lots of
calm.
gyms out there.
Yep.
Oh, yes, that is so true. But thank you for having me.
Yeah,
If you have more
thank you.
questions, let Nancy know. She'll reach out, and then we'll get you a plan agreement. And we can process it even on the 15th. Don't worry, that's easy to do. We just want your court to have made your decision so you feel comfortable with what you're doing.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Have a great fall and a wonderful holiday if I don't see you personally.
Does anyone have anything else on that item?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I do.
Are we going to, you're gonna put that on, Judge, then in a couple of weeks
Yeah.
or something?
I thought it'd give us all a couple of weeks to think about and.
And, you know, on that note, Tanya, I guess all of our employees, they know about their ability to participate in the 531, what's the other?
457?
457?
457. Do we tell them about that when we hire them on, or that they have other?
Sonia does it during orientation. Now, you know, the older ones, new employees, they listen a little better than the younger ones do because it's so far off for them, but yes.
When they did my onboarding, we went through the back end, it was a featured part.
Well, I just noticed yesterday, so my fixed 427s are at the safest bet you could make, and it has made over 9% this year.
Wow.
I thought, that's pretty good.
You just did it, Jeff. You said it in
Don't
court, and now
say it.
can't bar the door the rest of the year.
-4.
And the news this afternoon, market bought
So
record.
are we budgeted with enough amount in our retirement to make that increase with an elected rate?
We are budgeted to
To
14%.
14, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to
And
clarify on
that's
that,
splitting the difference, really. I mean,
to clarify on what we're budgeting, we are budgeting reserves. So any of that extra percentage, if we do increase, would, you know,
We'll draw from reserve.
we would draw really from the reserves,
Yeah.
because we're really, we have our fund balance, we budget whatever, and so,
But it
you know,
was
we don't have the
accounted,
revenue
the
to cover the
increase was
full
accounted
total
for in
expenses.
the budget, and
Well, and
I thought it was.
Yeah, and it's with the caveat on anything like that. Yes, it's budgeted for out of reserves, assuming all of the other line items are spent up
Yeah.
to. That's the fun,
Yeah,
the game that we have to
it's kind of
play.
like one of those catch-22 types
Yeah.
of things. I would really, I know she mentioned something, and I didn't get around to asking her because she got out of here pretty quick, apparently. She had somewhere to go.
She's going to Carlito.
Thank you, Jeff. No, I would be curious about, she did say that once we did increase that elected rate, we would not be able to drop that elected rate until our required rate was below, so even if
No,
our.
we can drop it anytime we want. It just
She
can't
said
drop
we
it
could-
below, we can't drop it below the required rate.
Right.
Well-
So what I'm saying is if we push it to say 13%, we wouldn't be able to go back down to the 12% until it got
No.
below.
No, we can drop it at any point. It would just, we could go to 10% the next day. It's just only gonna drop as far as the required number is,
Yeah.
cause that's the floor for us.
But
I'm
what we
I thought she
can't,
had said we could not go below.
We
the-
can't go below the required rate on any actuarial year.
When of what we have to pay.
Of what we.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
but-
just curious that, and I didn't know if we could keep our elected rate at the same, or if we're gonna be required to increase our elected
No,
rate because we're making it.
We can keep it at whatever, essentially, we can keep it at whatever
Right
we
now,
want.
we're set at an elected rate, but
We're
the
above.
required
We're
rate
gonna
is
have-
above it,
yeah.
so we have to pay the required rate currently.
I just didn't want us to try to get it as something that we might not be able to move back down for a period of time.
That's-
And I know
that's-
it's not really gonna matter because, you know.
That's one of the good
we're
reasons
paying
to
over
do
that
this, is
regardless.
we pay the liability off, and if we ever get behind, or if we have a bad year, we can pull it back to
Yeah.
the required rate.
The only permanent decision that we would be making if we made it would be to go to the lump sum. Because once we do that, it's locked in
forever.
forever.
But how does the actual or actuarial on this lowering the proposed plan funding change when the dynamic of the employee is changing all the time? So you're flushing out retired people, or you're bringing on new people, they're funding the plan. How do you know that by 2047, that's only taking into account the picture stays the same?
No, their actuarial studies, that's what they get paid the big bucks to do, is to, they're figuring
But
That's why
think
we
about
refigure
it.
it every year,
But
because
think-
every year the
but-
deficit changes.
Well, but think about it, 2023 to 2047, you lose your liability. So what has happened in the last 20 years? From 2020 to 2023, we've never paid 20%. So what happened to that why is it only moving now in the last 23 years that it didn't move in the first 23 years we participated?
Well, so I think a lot of that's because the rate that we were paying over those last 20 years was probably matching up pretty close with just what the required rate is. But again, pushing it out over the next 20 to make sure you were maintaining what you needed to be. This is assuming that you keep a plan significantly above what your unfunded liability rate's going to be. And so my guess is that over the last 20 years, we probably were bringing down the rate. It was going in lockstep with what the 20-year window looking ahead was requiring of it. I think I said that poorly, but
We're dealing
it
with
would
a
be
lot.
good. That's a good. Be
You're
good to
dealing
know.
with a
I'm
lot
sure they
more
could get it.
dollars,
Yeah.
for one thing, which should be that way going forward. Does that have an effect on it? I mean, our total payroll today is a lot more
Well,
than it was 20
you can
years
see
ago.
we're
Yeah.
88% funded. Was there a time when we were only 40% funded?
Not sure what that low, but there may have been a time where we were 78% funded.
That was a long, if we were 40% funded, that was a long time before I got here.
Because
One of the things that I think would be real interesting about doing those calculations that you're talking about, and they have people that do it, is the dynamic change of different generations. You know, things are different today in the workforce than they were 20 years ago. And I wonder if that's gonna have an effect. How is the next upcoming, whatever group that is, how are they gonna view retirement?
It's gonna be hard to get somebody with a 30-year career anymore.
That's exactly right, that's a trend we're already seeing.
And
how is that gonna
That
affect?
benefits the county here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you don't
You don't
make
see
it
that
match.
loyalty anymore.
Yeah.
People, every 5 years, they're moving to a different job.
That's why it would be scary to have that job of trying to predict, you know, how this thing's gonna
And
play out, because,
They know that trend.
well, that's true.
They take that into account in their
Yeah,
actuarial
history
model.
time.
Yeah, here's the 20-year snapshot. And I'm gonna ask Erica for the 20-year snapshot. 'Cause that-
And the readers,
Yeah.
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's why they get paid the big bucks, because they know what those trends are globally.
But payroll back then was
So
probably
move-
only.
Moving forward, would we be considering a partial cash settlement and an entire one? or-
No, it's a partial lump sum
Lump
option,
sum,
that's
lump
what it's
sum,
called.
yeah.
We only give them one choice of minimum, you can take nothing, all the way up to you can take 100% of your portion.
Of your,
The
Right,
employee's
I know,
portion.
yeah, I got it.
of your
But we're not,
7%.
well, I want 10 or,
No.
no, it's all or none.
Well, no, the employee can choose any amount within that spectrum.
Up
They
to
can
a
take half
10%.
of it or
Okay.
20,000 of it.
We're not putting a cap of,
Okay.
oh, you can only take half of your.
Okay,
Okay. Anything else?
no.
No,
Okay.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
When you were, I was laughing, Jeff, when you were talking about 457s and 401s, it sounded like you were at the line of scrimmage. All right, it's 11:33 and court is adjourned.